security? No.
Food security, something to do with locking up food? No, I don't know.
No, I haven't. I haven't.
No.
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 Doesn't mean anything to you?
Food security to me means that a country has its own food supply and can't be threatened or blackmailed by other countries, so you're essentially self-sufficient in what you need to feed your population.
No.
No, means nothing.
I haven't heard of the phrase food security.
Anti-tampering measures in terms of any type of interference with food, perhaps a criminal act.
The social security.
No.
Is it something to do with where food comes from?
Are resources being kept?
I don't really have an idea.
I don't know, sustainability of food supply or something of that type of nature is the only thing I could probably really think about what it could mean.
No.
I guess it means how much food we actually, like sustainability of food supplies.
I may have heard it a couple of times, but I don't know anything about it, to be honest.
Things like the fact that food is scarce, perhaps, that food hasn't been distributed properly in the world, you know, supplies are low, there's famines associated with it, that sort of thing. I don't think it's a valid phrase, though, I have to say.
Like securing our food sources?
Yeah. Or, yeah.
Food security is the provision of sufficient amounts of safe, affordable, nutritious food that we need to underpin the health and well-being of all the human populations across the globe. Currently within the EU, we are around about 70% self-sufficient in our food production. So you might think that we have nothing to worry about. We could easily increase the volumes of food that we require. But we are in an unstable situation in Europe that we do rely on importation from many other countries. There's also the risk of conflicts, wars, flooding, all sorts of natural and intentional disruptions to our food supply that might affect the way that we manage our food supplies in the future.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in sort of going for fresh local produce, definitely, rather than, I'd rather spend a bit more to get something that I know has been produced locally and is of high quality rather than, you know, spending less and getting it from abroad.
I think people need to pay more for food so that they don't have to transport it around the world so much. I think that's important, yeah.
Yeah, it does seem silly. Because we have cows here. So it would seem a waste of time to import it. Yeah. If it's just an economic issue, then I think that's kind of sad.
Yeah. Definitely. I won't buy things out of season.
When I buy food, actually I just check where the food comes from. You know, I don't buy, for example, fruit when it's not the season.
We get quite a lot of our fruit and veg and stuff locally. But then it's always seasonal, and I don't think people, certainly of my generation, understand what seasonal foods are. I think they just think food just grows all year.
I think it's fairly ludicrous that things come from the other side of the world that you could be growing here, or you're just maybe doing without. I mean, I'm old enough to remember when certain things were just in season, and you had certain types of apple at certain types of year and other things at other times of year, and for it to be brought up from Chile just strikes me as ludicrous.
Yeah, I'd prefer it to be Scottish based if possible, or UK based.
Support the farmers.
Well, I think farmers are really facing a huge challenge. I think a challenge they actually relish, but we're really talking about doubling food production, and doing that at the same time as reducing our energy inputs and maintaining the environment and soil in a pristine condition. And that's something we've never really done before. I think for our young farmers this must be the most exciting time to come into our industry. The demand going forward from the world demand for food is going to be extraordinary, almost explosion of demand. And we're looking at new technologies and new techniques to actually respond to that. This is something where the brightest and the best and the most energetic can really have a fantastic sort of impact and career.
I worry about food shortages to the extent that things don't seem to be changing and an immense amount of food is wasted. There's lots of processed foods, and I think that there could be food shortages largely due to the way that the food business is structured. But I would hope that some kind of common sense prevails and then there won't be any food shortages.
I do see problems with it, yes, the growing population. The world's getting larger and the food will become scarcer, so obviously.
I'm aware that it's an issue, it's an integrated issue because food isn't just food, it's all the transportation, the associated things with doing it.
Yeah, it's a concern. Yeah, it's always a concern, but it's not. We don't dwell on it as such.
I think there's far too much food in some of the world and far too few in the other parts of the world. So that's going to take a big global effort, though, in a world that's not run by money and oil.
I still think that overall the attitude of the Western world towards food is quite arrogant, as if never anything would happen, as if they could just continue to live in this abundance forever.
We're all unfortunately serviced by mass industry. It's become a massive industry as opposed to, but that's what we have to do. If you go to China, everything's genetically modified, and maybe we shouldn't be too scared of that. I'm not entirely sure.
I've got a daughter, so yes, I do worry about her kind of long term, I suppose.
I have to say it's not something I think about or worry about.
I think the distribution of food across the world is in quite a bad state of affairs. And I think that people in the developed world have got what I think they referred to once as a grain pile. We've got a food pile, whereas less developed countries have virtually nothing.
No, I knew the population was growing, but I didn't know that was a problem with food. I assumed we just keep making it.
Yeah, I just never thought.
Well, the Scottish Government recognises that Scotland, as a food producing nation, certainly recognises the importance of food security, and that's why, for instance, we do invest about £30 million a year into food and drink related research, because we have the expertise within our research institutions, and that's why it's really important we support that kind of research, not just for the benefit of Scotland, but of course for the wider world at the same time. And along with colleagues elsewhere in these islands, we're also participating in the Global Food Security Programme, because we do recognise that food security and all the benefits that will flow from achieving that for Scotland and the world's population really must be a big priority in the years ahead.